Hello, my fellow explorers of the ancient and the mystical. Before we dive into today's exciting journey, if you're new here and you haven't yet done so, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to my channel. This way you won't miss out on any of our explorations into the enigmatic world of geomancy, dowsing, and earth energy. So today we're going to talk about stones and stones as a technology to access other realms, an ancient technology. And I'm going to draw on the examples of things like Stonehenge and Newgrange to talk about some of the experiences that we can have, that I have had, and the science that backs these up. So let's embark on this exciting discussion. So, stones, particularly those found at sacred sites, they often possess properties that can affect our ability to achieve altered states of consciousness just by their actual molecular makeup. So, this is why stones are really important at sacred sites, why we have these huge megaliths standing there. So, because we're creating an energetic environment using physical materials that will enable us to have altered states of consciousness. And in these states, then we can transcend the confines of time and space. We can get out of our own head. We can have experiences that we might not be able to have in other places, or we might have to use something like, a psilocybin or some other substance to help us access this other part of our consciousness that usually is closed off to us. Our day-to-day experience now is quite limited, and it's usually we have to normally, take something to have these kind of trips, to have these shamanic experiences. It could be ayahuasca, psilocybin mushrooms, but we normally have to take something that is a plant form of a neurochemical, if you like, that enables us to dream. Now, when we take these substances like ayahuasca or psilocybin, they really, in essence, stimulate our neurochemistry to create what is called DMT. And DMT is our dream chemical. It enables us to have these, amazing experiences. But normally, in a day-to-day basis, we can't do that. Normally, that occurs when we're asleep. It's not something we can conjure up at will. However, there are places on the earth because of how they're made, the geology, and where huge electrical charge is from the deep magma of the earth, like plasma, like a plasma ball, they earth out at these surface areas. Those areas stimulate our DMT. So, and one of the things that stimulates that is rock, because these rocks have particular properties. So, stones found at ancient sites have these unique properties that can affect our states of consciousness. So, and at these places, as I say, we can transcend the nature of space and time, and we can communicate with other consciousnesses beyond our own. Because normally we exist in our own head, and we look out from our eyes and we see the world out there, and everything we are in here, and everything else is out there. And it breaks down that I am in here and everything else is out there. You become part of the out there. And it's the most incredible experience. Once experienced, you're changed forever. So when I go to a sacred sites, because I can see energy, there is a lot of sacred geometry, sort of 3D forms. For instance, like dodecahedrons that we get over particular stone circles. And what these do for me, after I've been exploring it for many years, they seem to hold a stable resonance. So, like, a frequency. We're over the earth, there's lots of different resonances in the Earth's electromagnetic fields, some big and slow, some fast and small. It holds a stable resonance that enables us to safely explore these altered states because we have a resonance of us and we have to within us and we have to kind of match the geography to enable us to have these altered states without recourse to some other substance that's going to enable us, our brain, to produce this DMT. So these stable frequencies enable us to step out beyond our own mind. And these energetic forms, really, they are the maths, they are the sacred geometry of the universe. They are the holograms of the universe. And therefore, they're a bridge that allows us to step beyond our physical experience. So I might see a dodecahedron over Stonehenge. I see other forms over other shapes. Sometimes they're toroids of energy. Sometimes they're rising columns. They come in lots of different forms. And it's the form, really, that is present in the landscape, that some of them are naturally occurring, that will tell us what sacred structure to build there. But then other times we've created sacred structure out of rock to create these energies. So to a degree, I presume we in ancient times we saw what was present naturally at places that were just sacred by their nature, and we took those materials, those rocks, and built structures to recreate naturally forming energetic structures so that we didn't have to necessarily trek miles to the nearest sacred site. You know, when there were no roads, we just walked everywhere. We could create one in our environment where we wanted to settle, exist, or whatever. So these sacred geometry forms enable us to step outside of our physical experience. So in essence, then all sacred sites link to this universal hologram. It serves as a sort of energetic internet, enabling us to um, explore and connect. In fact, they allow us to connect us to see and experience sites at which we're not physically present. So they act like portals. So I've had many experiences at sacred sites where I've been at a sacred site and also, I'm able to see another landscape, another place which is totally different to where I actually physically am. So these are like it enables us to move out of our consciousness. The best way I can describe it is if all the consciousnesses in the universe are a ruler. The breadth of human consciousness is really only 1 millimeter. That's the bounds of our normal consciousness. But all this other stuff exists. And what sacred sites enable us to do is to break out of that 1 millimeter that is our consciousness and explore the rest of it. Because your mind is limitless and infinite, and our mind fields, the fields of energy from our mind, connect to the farthest regions of the universe. We are limited in our physical body, but our mind is not just physical, our mind is beyond our physical brain. But it's very difficult to break through that doorway that shuts that off from us. And this is what sacred sites do. They enable us to open that door. And once we open that door, it enables us to communicate with particular deities, gods, or just other Deva, other consciousness. The fairy realms, because they're the spirit that hold the pattern and form, energetic pattern for all things to come into form in the universe. So, when we draw a house, for instance, we draw a blueprint. Your architect will draw a blueprint. That is the pattern that the form of your physical house will take. And nature spirits and all other kind of spirits and guardians and keepers of the landscape and other planets, they all hold the pattern of the form of that thing in its manifest state within the universe. And we can connect to those consciousnesses. So we can connect to the Deva of rocks. We can connect to the consciousness of the sun. We can connect to the consciousness of the Milky Way. It's all just a scale. And that's the other form really of sacred sites, is that when we're trying to communicate with consciousnesses that are much, if you like, bigger or grander than ours, and the human consciousness being quite small and limited, even when we're in an altered state, we're still in a physical body, and we've still also got that limited of our day-to-day consciousness. So when we're in these stable frequencies of these sacred sites, for me, how I experience it, it enables, it's like a connection that changes the frequency. It enables me to communicate with something much bigger than myself without sort of blowing a fuse. We're in this sacred space, and if there's a discrepancy between my level of consciousness, I'm trying to sort something so much big. You've got to have a mechanism where, I'm not trying to, put 105 amps in a 5 amp plug. I've got to be able to mediate that discrepancy. And sacred sites, for me, have always enabled me to do that. So I'd love to hear if anybody else's, that's your experiences as well. So this doorway enables us to connect to other things. And this may be a particular connection to a particular thing due to perhaps known factors like astronomical alignments or location. And, even unknown factors like we get spontaneous eruptions of energy from geological fault lines that moves in waves across the landscape. Sometimes when you're a sacred site and those hit, you never quite know what you're going to be connected to because there's just this pulse of energy. So, but certain sites are definitely connected to certain things. So sites like New Grange, for instance, has a not necessarily well-known alignment to Venus. And I visited New Grange as a child and had a profound connection with the consciousness of Venus. I felt this goddess in my presence. This was before it was quite as busy as it is today. And I was there and I felt this goddess, and there's this huge energy form in the landscape around the whole of New Grange, and in fact, the Brunner near the whole Boyne Valley. So there's structures over New Grange, and then there's structures over Douth, and then there's a structure over the valley. So it's scales within scales. But when I connected to Venus, her energetic blueprint, if you like, her form can enter that space of New Grange, and so can we. And in this way, we can talk to the gods. We're contained in a physical space, yet what it contains is actually vast and infinite. And I think this is one of the most profound things is that we realize we are stepping beyond the physical bounds of time and space when we enter sacred space. I've also experienced astral travel at many of these sacred sites, and we can find ourselves journeying out. There's that you sort of go out the Milky Way. It's a persistent similar angle almost. And then there's that void beyond. Once we get to the Milky Way, you go beyond. And it's a journey that I've taken many times in my lifetime, both and as quite a young child, this started happening to me in Ireland. It's a journey that I would say is both in equal measure exhilarating and can be absolutely terrifying at the same time. But it's something that I've always persisted doing since I had a sort of a consciousness awakening experience in Ireland. I'd always been able to see energy, but when I moved to rural Ireland and, if you like, met loads of nature spirits who, together with an elm tree, started initiating me into having these outer body experiences and showing me this sort of whole energetic makeup and the layers of reality that we can move in and out of. So it's a fascinating experience. So I was very fortunate to have been nurtured by these keepers and guardians of the landscape, not by humans. I was nurtured from the other side, which I think has been a profound experience in my life. So back to stones. Stones with the right properties are crucial for our consciousness states. So stones that have particular piezo and paramagnetic properties, what they do is that paramagnetism and piezoelectricity is registered in the body. Our body feels it, whether we're conscious of it or not. In fact, we're not normally conscious of it. It registers it, and it's that stimulant that stimulates the brain into producing DMT, which is then enables us to have these other conscious states of consciousness. So stones from a particular area as well, when we bring stones in from another area, they bring that energy and the spirit of place with them, so enabling us to work co-creatively to shape our reality. So if we think about places like Stonehenge, that makes when we're bringing in stones, bringing in the blue stones, whether they were from Preselian Wells or now thought was Orkney, but the altar stone is sandstone. I suspect, looking at the energetic blueprint there and the missing stone, so the altar stone is in effect missing from Stonehenge. In the energetic blueprint, there is a shape where a stone should be but isn't. And the energetic qualities of the stones, they almost create a map of the fourth quarters, north, south, east, and west. And they mirror the sort of geology of the British Isles, the different sort of changes in landmass. So we're bringing in the spirit of each area in one place. So we can meet with the spirit of mountains. We can meet with the spirit of the lowlands. We can meet with the spirit of the chalk downs. We can meet with the different spirits of the different kind of places. So we can collectively co-create, nurture with them, and then take that information back to these areas so that we create a unified nation of everybody working to the same goal. So by working with these divas, I say we can really co-create to shape our reality. I think this is the ultimate power of Western geomancy, that when we're working with energy, we're trying to create a society of that has a shared goal of working with nature. So we use energy in our homes and in our workspaces to make sure that they support us. So the activity we're doing in a particular location is aligned to the energy. There's no point, if we wanted to work with a material, let's say making pots, that's an active energy. We want to be doing something, we want to be engaging with fire. We don't want some energy, it's all sleepy and we need active energy. So the activity that we engage in a place was best matched to its energy. So when we've got sleepy energy, it's great for resting, keeping your animals nice and calm. And then so we've got energy of where we live and work, because live and work now in modern society is kind of two separate entities, but actually, ancient man living and working, everything, all the work that we did was to ensure that we could live. That's really one area. And then we had these sacred areas where we could go and connect to something more than ourselves, where our leaders of our tribe could connect to something more than ourselves, where the people could see them doing that so that they could understand how this guidance was come from. So you could create a shared vision of where you wanted your tribe or your society to go for, and live, and who does what work for the year ahead, so that you can ensure your survival. Who's got the best energy to deal with, I don't know, animals, or like I said, make pots, or who's going to build the sacred sites, who's got the strength to do that, who's going to do this, so that we could create a cohesive vision working with Deva to sit within this mesh of the natural world. Whereas now I think very much we kind of like sit on top of it and view everything as a resource. So when we create sacred sites, I suppose, by working with the spirit of place, or Deva, if you want to call it that, Deva, we can develop a strong, in fact, strong, meaningful partnerships. And these partnerships can help us create healthy, cohesive, functioning societies or groups. Now, this benefits us and the spirit because they are fulfilling their purpose and we are fulfilling ours. We ourselves fall within the remit of the creations of the spirit of place. The spirit of place where I was born in this area. I am one of her creations because I was born here. So when we travel to another location that is not of our birth, it makes sense to bring a direct link to our Deva with us from the bones of our landscape, because we and it are one. So if we're moving around, if we move a stone, we keep that connection. So in modern times, we've lost sight of this profound link between people and place that is in essence both physical and spiritual. So I said, if we take Stonehenge for an example, the missing altar stone or other object, it still holds a faint energy field with it. If it was a stone, its energy is not consistent with any of the other stones, suggesting it was bought from another location. And I suspect north, south, east, and west were all represented in some structure. But the missing stones means that the stable frequency of Stonehenge, if you like, is not there. And while it certainly vibrates at times and you can feel the hum, it still feels like an orchestra, really, with the string section missing, as a lot of our sites actually do, because there's a lot of stones missing. So I've had many ineffable experiences at many sacred sites with spiritual beings who have taken me since childhood to worldwide sites at all different times of our human story. And it makes total sense to create sites that connect with this energetic blueprint, the energetic blueprint of reality, so that we can actively co-create our world along with the many fields of consciousness that really map out the universe. So I believe that sacred sites serve a purpose. I've had these experiences I describe, a variety of stones, and they've been the most powerful experiences. One of them being at the Cat Stone in Ireland, where I connected to the spirit of Ireland and really the kingdom of the fairy consciousness, and I experienced that as a portal to several different locations on the planet. Which is an amazing experience to have, which is, this essence of consciousness is that there's this vast field of consciousness and we can tap into it. So, and we can work with the spirit that holds the pattern and form of all the components really of the manifest world. So it means that we're not just living in a human experience and connecting to other humans, we can connect to all the other consciousnesses that are out there in the universe. And I think when we bring stones that have a direct link to the landscape or regions or provinces where people are born, to bring that spirit with us, that whose creation we are, it means that all people are represented in the deepest way. And it's really a profound act of spiritual and physical communion. So that's really what I wanted to say. It's a bit sort of philosophical and deep today. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I want to thank you for joining me on this journey today. And until next time, let's keep exploring.